But let's first get into the whole Chris Mannix and Bill Wagner, no, Wanger, topic or conversation they had on the podcast. And it was illuminating in several ways, obviously, because we've had Tim Smith discuss in not real detail the relationship between Showtime and Fox, sort of the deals that are in there, obviously on the PBC podcast with Kenneth. And I'm of two minds before I delve into specifics of the information that we got from the podcast. Chris Mannix, I think that because his performance on the podcast and the interview, I think, has been a little bit criticized on boxing Twitter, and I can see why. Like he had a little freak out moment. It's okay, but I will say this: that the issues that I see in this interview and just from Chris Mannix overall going forward is that DAZN relationship is very evident. Similar with Dan Rayfield and the top rank relationship, it's just very evident in their analysis, in the questionings, the framings of their questions. But overall, I thought he did a decent job. I don't understand the criticism. I think that we needed someone in there that was sort of an adversary to Bill Wanger, because that's what media should be. Now, Mannix is maybe motivations to be an adversarial reporter in this interview was because of the DAZN relationship, or just subconsciously because of the DAZN relationship and him working with DAZN. But I think that's how media should be. So I thought some of the lines of questioning, the follow-up questions that he asked were quite good. So I just want to briefly just talk about that aspect of the interview. But first, let's talk about the Fox Showtime relationship, and let's hear it from one of the Fox executives himself on the Chris Mannix podcast, the SI Boxing with Chris Mannix, by the way. Go check out the whole podcast. First off, enjoy Chris Mannix's interviews, and secondly, this was a really good podcast and insightful, and we're not going to cover everything in it and play everything in it, but definitely go check out aspects that we are not going to cover. Let's go into it.
How do you do that with Showtime in the mix? I mean, as you know, that's a shared relationship, or at least nominally there was supposed to be. How do you navigate that?
Well, quite frankly, we're in the premier position with the PBC, but we view Showtime as a partner with the PBC. But at the end of the day, the biggest fights will be with Fox.
There's a very unconvincing partner line right there. Do you really see them as a partner in all this?
Yeah, I mean, we promote each other's fights.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a conversation with Al, with PBC, about, who's going to get what and where it's going to go?
Yes, often.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot. We talk a lot of long-term and strategy and who's going to have what. And our deal with the PBC is to be in the premier position and have the premier package. And so a lot of, who gets what between Fox and Showtime is kind of taken care of in the contractual process.
So you have a pretty clear idea now.
Now, we're going to cover a lot more aspects of this interview. I want to break down that part first, because that is contrary to things we've heard before from PBC and Tim Smith specifically. And he mentioned bidding, that these two networks bid for fights. Fox is saying, and Bill Wagner is saying, Wanger is saying that it's not that way, that contractually speaking, they are the premier network for PBC, and Showtime is not. That is in stark contrast to they just bid on cards phrasing that Tim Smith said on the PBC podcast. And Rob, I want to get you sort of your take on, obviously I think that, Bill's, speaking the truth here. I don't think he's lying here. I think there is something in the contract that is alluding to the idea that PBC needs to deliver the best content that they have and the best fights to Fox. Maybe the interpretation is different from both sides, right? That's possible. Maybe there is a bidding process for some of these fights, but in Fox's mind, the big fights, the big matchups, they're the network for it. They're the premier network. That's what he said specifically, in quote, premier network for PBC. And do we think that I mean, I don't really know where to branch off because there's so many different ways we can tackle this individual topic here. But Rob, just your overall thoughts on this new information coming from Fox in terms of the PBC deal and the relationship with Fox, Showtime, and PBC in the middle.
Yeah, but first of all, please just stick to calling him Wagner because I can't cope every time you say Wanger. I'm just a child.
I know you are. That's why you're laughing.
Every time you say it, I can't help it. Just get his name wrong from now on.
Bill. I'm just going to call him Bill. Bill.
Yeah, William Wanger. Anyway.
Yeah, VP Joe.
Yeah, shout out. But yeah, I mean, yesterday I saw Mannix tweeted what today's episode was going to be, and I messaged like a few guys and was like, "This might be interesting," and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll check that out." So halfway through work today, I was like, "Oh, let me check my podcast feed. Wonder if the SI podcast has dropped yet." Oh shit, yeah, it's there. Excellent. I put it on and I thought it's going to be just a bit of waffle, and then he just started talking about contractually the Premier Network for
he started
PBC,
going on,
and we'll get into other stuff shortly. But it was a slight eye opener, like you say, sort of contrary to Tim Smith's position and what he said. And I don't know, the reporting on like Showtime kind of backing out of the Wild Ortiz, that it wasn't kind of financially viable.
That was Espinoza's narrative spin, let's say.
So I don't know. It's like, is everyone on the same page, as in where everybody stands, or is this news to Espinoza? Is this,
or is this? I mean, to take it maybe even a step further. I mean, is everyone happy in the prayer circle, the drum circle? Is everyone getting along here? Is Fox, Showtime getting along?
Well, I know who is happy. Obviously, Bill, but
well, because he's getting all the good fights. And Al Heyman, I think, is and PBC are overall happy because look at the numbers they're doing on Fox, how they keep improving with each month. It seems they should be happy, but obviously, we circled around it. But Steven Espinoza, he should be upset here. Like this is in stark contrast to what he has said, what PBC is saying, and again, I think it's true. And how is Espinoza going to respond here? And we know Espinoza, he is going to respond. I am shocked he has not tweeted yet about it. Absolutely shocked. Okay, because I know he will.
I think the fact that it was, I was going to say, DAZN's journalist or DAZN's
it is
guy that brought it out with Bill, but I thought that might be his angle because it seems to be a lot of
that will be his angle.
That angle, but yeah, I don't know. Is Espinoza been told it? Because he was on, I think that might have been the PBC podcast or another podcast, but he said like I think it was regarding Pacquiao after the Broner fight. He said he may go to fight, but he'll be coming back for this one. Or Spence, he'll be here, but not judging by today because
Bill's not saying that.
Bill's like, was it 99%? Of the we've got on PBC
no, that you're getting the context wrong of that quote. That's about just
of
PBC having the talent of boxing, period, not
Fox. But didn't he say, and we've got pretty much all of them?
No. He's saying PBC has all of them.
Oh, okay.
He's saying when he said he's saying PBC. When he's purely talking about that, ignore that quote in this context.
Okay.
But
regardless,
circling back,
the best players and that kind of thing.
Circling back, I think if you're out there saying that if you have a distribution deal with a provider and they have multiple distribution deals, and you're out there saying we're the one that gets the best content from that content provider, naturally the other distributors are going to be upset if they don't feel the same way, if they're not on the same page. And maybe they are. Like maybe that is a thing where like Showtime knows their, for lack of a better word, their place in this new paradigm for PBC, that they're not going to get the premium content, the best fights. They might get the Gervonta Davis, matchups, squash matches. They might get the Jamal Charlo squash matches, but they're not going to get the big fights anymore. They might get a Deontay Wilder if they pay a bunch of money, and it's going to be for a Brazil sort of matchup, but not the Ortiz fight, not the Fury fight. Those are now Fox matchups, and now Showtime has accepted that. Maybe that is a possibility. and everyone is happy. I just doubt that, knowing Steven Espinoza and knowing the things that they have said and how what Bill is saying here is in contradiction to what has been said in the past from Espinoza and from Tim Smith.
Yeah, and I feel like because and the way he said it was kind of like, you know, they'll get whatever they get, but we're it's like, yeah, they're getting, you know, on power, you know, kind of adding it for spice, but it's kind of like you're getting the shit stuff, we're getting the good stuff. And you know, before anyone
in corporate talk, that's what he said.
That is basically what he said.
That is what he said. Like
you've got our like trimmings because we're keeping all the good stuff.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean,
we got more clips to play. You want to jump to other clips? Or you want to keep talking about this?
No, I just want to say, like, obviously, it is a bigger promotional outlet for these fighters. It makes sense.
Network, obviously. I mean, it's a bigger network, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's more reach. They've got the NFL behind it. They've got WWE behind it. They can push it everywhere, which is obviously great for these fighters. And you know, I think obviously because you're saying about the big fights, the big stars, and this, that, and the other. So I think that tends to lean the fact that the Mayweather connection with Tank and the Showtime connection is why Tank's sort of not getting that Fox stuff. But do we see, you know, Tank eventually drift over? Or
if PBC was a monolith in terms of how it operates, yes. If PBC was a straight up promotional company, I think Gervonta would make the eventual turn. But because it is this Frankenstein's monster of a, air quotes, promotional company, because it really isn't, and we're going to get into maybe parts of that in a second, you can have Mayweather Promotions do their own thing within the PBC umbrella while everyone else is doing something else. Yeah. You know, like PBC is uniquely situated to do that, while other promoters maybe can't, because their business model and structure is very streamlined and it's uniformed and it's a monolith. PBC isn't. So I do think if we're talking any other entity, absolutely Gervonta would make that eventual turn to Fox, because Fox is the bigger platform. In Bill's words, they get the premium content. He is one of the bigger names. He should be on Fox eventually. But I think because of the Mayweather promotions and Mayweather connection specifically to Showtime, that is going to be a far harder name to grab, unlike, let's say, the Charlos, which might, you know, bounce back and forth depending on the matchup.
Well, he mentions Jamal, right? So,
well, Jamal was obviously on the first Fox card of the deal. So he's already been on Fox, now he's back on Showtime.
Yeah, but he kind of goes into Jamal's plan on the podcast. People should go and check it out. That, you know, with Al, it's kind of got him on a path where he might be with another network for the next couple of fights. So that maybe suggests Showtime. But he said, but then he'll like come back. So it's almost like as well. So we get the good stuff, you get the not so good stuff, but you build up Jamal a little bit more, and then we'll take him when things are popping.
It's not that at all. It's not about building up. I think because Showtime can't build up fighters better than Fox. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. It's about
these guys.
It's about offloading budget, in my opinion, for the squash matches. That's what it is. So that's why you see it was Jamal Charlo, Brandon Adams. That was also on Showtime, not Fox. Why? Because it was a squash match that was a lot of money. Fox didn't want to pay that. Hey, Showtime, you can get it. You can get the trimmings, as you said, right? We will take Jamal Charlo versus somebody that's legitimate, a big fight. That's
Christian
clearly
Jr. or whatever.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay,
they had junior and senior on the PBC-FOX.
I guarantee you, even a Matt Korboff rematch, like, that's back on Fox, 1,000%. And like I said, like Deontay Wilder squash match, voluntary defense, whatever it is, you know, he fights another Eric Molina type. That could end up on Showtime, absolutely, because the Fox doesn't want to pay the upfront fee on it, and they'll let Showtime take it. You know, have him fight that squash match. They're going to save up money for a bigger fight, a better fight, a more marquee fight, and we're good. And we're getting Wilder back when he fights a Fury, an AJ, an Andy Ruiz. We're going to get those, because that's the premium content. And Fox has completely run the game on Showtime, and it's sad to see. But let's get into more because there's more aspects to it. I forget exactly what this one is. This might be the PBC belt one, but I believe that's the next clip. So let's play it and figure out what it is.
Pretty clear idea now what fighters you're going to be able to work with in 2020.
Yeah, and it's not so much, this fighter is a Fox fighter and this fighter is a Showtime fighter. It's this fight would be on a Fox platform, or this fight would be on a Showtime platform.
Do you have any trepidation there about not having guys under sort of Fox contracts? I mean, it's sort of the Al Heyman model. It hasn't always been the boxing model. HBO often had guys signed to contracts. Showtime for a long time, same thing. It does leave you a little bit vulnerable to something new potentially coming along and winding up maybe the way HBO kind of did, and now Showtime is sort of trending in that direction.
Well, we have a contract with the PBC for a certain number of fights and to be in the premier position. So at the end of the day, that's what we're going to have. We're not too worried about another entity coming in while we're under contract with the PBC.
What does premier position mean?
At the end of the day, we get the best fights, and the top stars, and Showtime will have what they're going to have, but Fox will have the best of the best.
So for an example of that, when you look ahead to what people are kind of hoping happens, which is Wilder against Tyson Fury in early part of next year, you plan on being part of that?
Well, I'm not really going to comment on Wilder Fury. We have Wilder Luis Ortiz coming up here, and think Wilder has to take care of business there. So I'm not going to get into speculating about.
All right, not much we need to go back on. That was just furthering, solidifying points that we've made, and further information about Fox's perception on the Showtime relationship. Showtime can have what they have. Oh my gosh! Oh, that was just such a diss. How?
That's like bars.
It is. That's a bar. That is a bar. Oh my gosh! Way to go, Bill Wagner.
For people wondering, he does go in a little more about the Wilder Ruiz. He sort of mentions because there's been there's talk about the match is done, but there's no. He said there's no reporting on networks or anything like that. But we know Bob Arum has been out there saying it's going to be a joint pay-per-view with Fox and ESPN. So there has not so much reporting as from one of the horse's mouths. So do we believe Bob? I don't know.
Also, I think they're also probably a little bit curious about the Wilder Ortiz pay-per-view numbers. They want to gauge how much they're going to give to Wilder Fury fight in terms of money, in terms of budgeting, based off of a Wilder Ortiz performance. So you know what I mean?
I think it's a tricky fight, this one, because this not necessarily should be pay-per-view. This, in terms of building Wilder again, with a big Fox audience.
If this was on regular Fox, it'd be massive.
It'd be big, yeah, and it'd have a huge viewership. Wilder would get exposure. We're expecting Wilder to get another knockout on Fox. It's going to be a big deal. But we know DAZN offered Luis Ortiz $7 million or whatever it was to fight Joshua, or he was offered that much. So they've got you'd like to think he's getting that $7 million, at least for the Wilder fight, because he must have been promised it.
Or close to it, maybe $5 million. Because I don't think he would get offered the same to fight AJ as Wilder. You know what I mean?
But then
he wouldn't get offered the same.
Yeah, where I'm getting to is that maybe they felt we've got to kind of make this pay-per-view to get some extra.
They talk, again, check out the podcast. I mean, Chris Mannix even asked about that. Is pay-per-view a way to offset costs? And he kind of skirts around it. But go check out the whole entire podcast for everything.